Yeah, because I'm gonna start the meeting right now. I will call for roll call.
As the chair and I just spoke, Commissioner Lee is sick, so she's excused. Commissioner Crosby,
Here.
Commissioner Wagoner,
Here.
Commissioner Zawowski,
Here.
Commissioner O'Leary. Let me see if he's on. He is not on the meeting yet, and Chair Malone.
Here. Do I have unanimous consent on the approval of minutes?
I have no edits. No edits for me.
Okay, then I will declare the minutes approved. And are there any requests, not you, Chris, because you're gonna have your own time, but did you guys want to say anything prior to comments from the floor?
Chair, if I may.
Is there a comment online?
There's a raised hand from a generic Zoom user that may be Commissioner O'Leary.
Or it could be somebody looking to speak.
That's true.
I can allow
Why
them.
don't you ask them and
I can
see?
allow them to speak.
Okay,
Zoom user, you're open speaking. Their mic is muted.
can you see their face?
No. I will ask them to unmute. There we go.
Hello?
Hi.
Yeah, this is Commissioner O'Leary. I don't have any button to turn on or anything.
Okay, let me promote you to a panelist. Hold on one second.
And you are here.
And you are here, yes.
Indeed, I am.
Okay, you should have just got a prompt that says, okay, I think you got it. Yep,
Yes, and now I have
there you
yes,
go.
and now I have the tap to speak button also. Thank you. Maybe I didn't come in the right way.
That's okay.
All that matters is that you're here now.
I'm gonna actually rename your profile just so that we can see that it's you. Okay.
Okay, Kellen, let's go with director's report.
So I was gonna make the director's report pretty short and sweet. I didn't have time, unfortunately, to write a little report like I've been doing usually. As you all know, we do have the link that I send to you every time I do the report for the city council, so hopefully you had an opportunity to read that. And then I don't have anything for the September meeting. We will have at least one legislative public hearing for October 26th, so hopefully we can get a quorum that night. And I don't know if we'll have any ability to really move that. And the reason why is because it's a legislative amendment for a House bill that has to be adopted into our code by the final day of December this year. I'm working with our attorney to draft code language related to it. It's basically expanding on middle housing allowances.
So that would be an October 26th
It
meeting.
would be the October 26th meeting. So
Yeah.
we would at least have a legislative hearing for that night. You know, if there's any other legislative materials or quasi judicial requests that come in from the public, we would also put them to that night. But as of right now, I don't have anything for the September meeting.
I will plan to be back from Wisconsin by October 26th then.
Sounds great.
Go there for a month.
And then the other update I did want to provide you, which you were already talking about for a few minutes before the meeting, as a group, is that one of the employees in our department had a very serious car accident that led to multiple surgeries and being put into an induced coma for like 3 or 4 days and on a ventilator and everything else. So luckily that person has pulled through the surgeries and actually, against all odds, returned home today. She does have a long recovery ahead of her. And so she will not be taking the minutes tonight. It'll be me.
So we should check him next week.
Yes, exactly. Should double check them this time around. But I just want to say that she was in our thoughts and prayers over the last few weeks, and luckily everything looks like it's turning out.
She might be one of our audience. Probably not.
I hope not.
Probably,
I don't
probably
think
not.
so.
Yeah,
wants to heal.
yeah.
And I think that's all I had for you this month, unless you have any questions of me.
Anybody?
I have gotten inquiries about the KFC building. Is that any more public than it wasn't?
What I can share you about that is we did have, yeah, so KFC went under. We don't know why, probably profits. So they went under. I believe they still have an active lease. So they're trying to sublease it, I believe, to another business. Patrick and I both talked to people a few times about a coffee shop going in there. It's a company that already owns several down in, was it Tucson? Or somewhere in Arizona.
Yeah, because we need another
Oh, is it in
coffee
Nevada?
shop.
Okay. So we talked to this person, they own like 3 or 4 locations already. They were thinking about opening a location here, but that was a couple months ago. We haven't heard anything since, so I don't know if that's gonna happen or not. One other update, I will actually, thank you for asking that, because I will give you one other update I almost forgot about. The church at the corner of Wolf and Pioneer,
Up from the post office there.
yeah, it was slated to be purchased. It was in a purchase agreement. People had put down earnest money and everything else for a Big Jim's or Mike's Drive-Thru.
Mhm.
Those are the 2 different names that corporation owns. So if you go to Hood River, the Dalles called Big Jim's, and in Portland,
There's
in
like half a
Washington
dozen
County,
in.
yeah, it's called Mike's. They were in agreement to purchase that. We had a pre-app. It was moving forward great, but I'll just be very honest, the ODOT got in the way and wanted to shut down all access and force it to that really congested driveway on Wolf Drive. And we pushed back. Patrick did a phenomenal job of
Got a
working.
ton of room for stacking distance there.
Yeah, Patrick did a phenomenal job working with the seller to convince them to extend the purchase agreement. But they just decided over the weekend that they're not going to move forward just to the unknowns around ODOT. So, fortunately, ODOT kind of screwed the pooch there. And so at this point, Patrick's working with them to try to find another location. Hopefully, if they find another
It doesn't
location,
but the highway.
or that
or
there's already
has-
access control that they can't mess with, yes.
Okay. Well, that's too bad. We need to come up with a different sign for coming soon, though. We need to have a coming eventually. And I'm thinking of, in particular right now, Jade Leaf.
Oh, right,
I go by
yes.
there every day and, oh, coming soon, but it's been a year
Right.
of coming soon. So maybe they can come up with a different promo than
We got Three
that.
Creeks too. Do they know about that?
Thanks.
What else?
Three Creeks Brewing, I included it in one of my updates. So Three Creeks Brewing, which is the brewery in Sisters. There could be a second one by now, but he was the original brewery in Sisters, I think,
Mhm.
that opened 25 years ago, somewhere in there.
Been there?
Ashley and Jake Whitney, who are area residents to Sandy, that own like 7 or 8 other bars and restaurants in the area. They bought Three Creeks about 1.5 years ago. And then more recently, I think over in June or July, they bought the Palos building. And they're gonna open a second Three Creeks location. I don't think they're planning on brewing in Sandy, just having it as a brew pub.
I think that I've seen some denuding of some of the stuff that was more payola oriented.
Yes.
The building's
Yep.
getting kind of refurbished a little bit to look.
Yeah, they got $100,000 grant from the Urban Renewal District from City Council just last month. To renovate the kitchen and the dining area inside. They're also planning on putting a new sign and I think kind of redoing some of the parking area.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, that Paola's building is super hot in the summer, so hopefully they
Some AC.
get their HVAC sorted out.
Or just not like the fire.
Coming soon.
Coming soon, yeah. Okay, is that everything? Okay, we'll move on to council liaison. Do you have a report for us?
Tonight, we had the drop-in at base camp Saturday and Sunday. It was the first year, I think the vendor turnout was maybe a little less than we had hoped, but being the first year, I stopped by Saturday late afternoon and it was busy. Everybody looked like they were having a great time. There were a bunch of vendors set up down there. The setup was really nice. It was really well organized and the more the word gets out, I think the more visibility it'll be.
So people discovered it also.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
didn't come see me.
I know, I was stuck up top. I came at like 3:45. It was just like, oh, but the weather could not have been better. It was threatening to rain and it looked beautiful when I was out there, so.
Great, first annual.
Yeah, yeah. There were a lot of happy looking bike riders and skateboard riders in there, so. And no ambulance, so we're good. From what I heard, none were called, at least on Saturday. The only other update is, council and the city came to a bargaining agreement with the Sandy Police Association collective bargaining, and so, I think that's on paper and we passed it through, and so, we all know how valuable the police is and the service they provide, and so, we came to an agreement and everything looks like it's gonna signed and inked and, we'll keep our great service and, police department out here.
Does the city still do a comparable thing with its other employees? At least as a percentage of? Because all of our other employees don't have a bargaining unit. And what we did when they first formed their bargaining unit was we carried that over to the other employees. Do you know if the council
That
still
I'm
does
not
that?
sure. This has been going on for months. Because there was just a lot of this and that and not a whole lot of movement to get it negotiated
Mhm.
until there was. I mean, it's been probably previous to May, probably February or March,
Wow.
when it started showing up on our radar as council, brought to our attention for what was being asked and what, the constraints were budget wise. So
I'm glad they settled.
I am too. Like, I think we all value our police department out here and I believe we're still fully staffed, but after certain incidents that have happened out here in the last several months, I think it became glaringly aware how important that protection is in our city and everywhere.
Yeah, I still see the blue ribbons,
Yep,
so,
I can speak to that for a second if you want.
okay.
While the general staff doesn't have a union, like you said, and there's no contractual obligation by the city to offer pay or incentives the same, I would say that as is typically found in most organizations, the union definitely sets the bar higher and therefore reflects changes down the road for general staff.
And when we first started, it was seen as a matter of fairness. So. We will move on to new business. And the first order of business is file number 26-029 ZC, a zoning map amendment for the Bornstead View subdivision. And I have this thing to read.
I provided you the script.
Yes, with my quasi judicial order of conduct. To let everyone know to start with that there will be a 15-minute for the applicant's presentation, 3 minutes for each proponent or opponent or neutral person completing testimony, and 5 minutes for the applicant's rebuttal. I will open the public hearing. And I already stated the applicant's name. Where is that? That's not in my little thing here, but
It's on the agenda.
yeah. Actually, it's not on the actual agenda, but
The application name.
the application name is it said just Bornstead Views. I know it's night, but
Alex Flickenham.
That's the next one.
Northwest Executive Homes and LLC.
yeah, what he said. But at this time, the file number already stated and the time of the hearing is opened at 6:44. And are there any abstentions from the commission? I don't see any abstentions, so I will ask for any conflicts of interest. Seeing none, has anybody had any ex parte contact? Or visited the site? I drive past it on the way to my friend's house, but other than that, I haven't visited the site. Are there any challenges to any individual members of the planning commission? Online or in the room? And if you are calling, or if you're joining in person, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. If you're participating online, click the raise hand button and you'll be called on. And if you're participating via telephone, dial 9 to raise your hand and wait to be recognized. Now we'll read the following statement, which is, if you testify, you must raise all issues at this hearing. If your issue is not raised at this hearing, you may not be able to raise it in a later or any appeal. Your comment should state why the application should or should not be approved, or include your proposed modifications you believe are necessary for approval according to the standards. If you do not raise specific issues at the final evidentiary hearing or by the close of the record, or fail to provide statements or evidence to allow the local government or its designee to respond to the issue, you will not be able to appeal the decision to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that particular issue. Failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to the proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow for local government or its designee to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in circuit court. Any party has a right to request a continuance of the public hearing or alternatively to have the record remain open. And I will call for the staff report now.
You want to share?
Still sure. They shared. They'll pop up that chance to actually get me.
Or in my case,
We had it.
0% chance.
Okay.
Okay. I had all these pop-ups coming.
This, that one was already up and might be underneath it.
I helped close that.
This is all that's in.
Yeah.
And just to remind everybody, if you can't see it on your screens on the dais, you can hit the toggle button and it should toggle to the presentation.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Commission, so I have a little PowerPoint. I can go through some of the key points of this. One of the main things I want to start with was this property. So the city had a UGB expansion in 2017. This property was annexed in 2019. And for some of you that weren't on the commission at the time, this was went through review and public hearing at the Planning Commission back in 2021. And as part of an annexation, the Planning Commission or the property is supposed to have a environmental review done of it, but typically that review is deferred until there's development on the site. So that review was initially done in the 2021 public hearing for that subdivision of Warrenton Views. And part of the conditions of it predicated on the requirement to do an environmental review was a condition of approval for Warrenton Views. So that's how we got to today. Just to give a quick vicinity, for those who weren't able to locate it or haven't seen, the development is actually through its engineering phase and has an recorded plat. And so one of the remaining things was that they do this, that one of the conditions was that based on the environmental review, if there was any wetlands found on the property, that they would apply for a rezoning to apply the FSH to this property. So the developers did follow through with all of the material that you're seeing here as far as the letter to DSL's concurrence on what their findings were. Their application, this is their application. We're just processing it through. typically we would have them kind of give a reason why they are asking for a rezoning, but in this case, because it was a condition of approval and we decided just to take this on through the process ourselves. We didn't really require anybody to speak to this. So for anybody that's been out to the site, you can kind of picture where this location is because it's an undeniably large retaining wall. But as part of the DSL review, on top of the wetlands being identified, there was also an ephemeral stream that was also identified. And this stream, I've been out on the site during the rainy season and it flows pretty heavily, or prior to development. This stream's now been picked up by the detention basin for the site and has an outfall that will continue the stream through the development under Maple Street, I believe it is, and outfalls into where the wetlands are, or where the wetlands were designated. As you know, this is a type 4 legislative review. Pardon?
Quasi-judicial.
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 So that's why we're here today to kind of go through this. This map, I wanted just to show you kind of that stream where it goes through the site. And even though Maple Street isn't labeled there, it's labeled on the other side of Bornshed, so it does continue through there. That the stream does go under, it outfalls into Track B, which is now owned by the city, and will continue on to the northwest in a fashion that's still above ground. But what we're really focused on is the area that is on the site, because it's the only jurisdiction that we have. The property owners to the north were in concurrence with this or gave permission to have their property included in this. So this is the area specifically that we're looking at. The kind of hatched area, you can see it's labeled wetland. That's the only area of wetland that was identified. So we took it from there and provided the engineers for the developer to what they would need to meet the code requirements and the setbacks for the FSH. And since this is not Tickle Creek, or this is not a perennial stream, we just took the standard 25 foot from the wetland setback, and then we took an additional 50 feet from the top, what we were referring to as a top of bank. So that's why you're seeing roughly 75 feet of new FSH area that's going to be covered on this site. And you could also, like I said, see the site to the north where there's those dotted lines, and we're hoping that when there's development there, we can kind of continue this FSH overlay through it, because the stream does continue onto their property. It's all daylighted, it's above ground, and it can flow pretty heavily through that area as it continues on. So the area, again, is just the requirements of the development code that we are identified. These are just some pictures. The outfall pipe is a specific point where discharge happens from the detention basin back into that ephemeral stream. And this is on the south side of Maple Street. So it discharges there through some riprap, picks back up, drops down, and goes through or goes under Maple Street and you can see a little bit where it drops out on this very steep retention basin or retaining wall, I'm sorry.
Sorry, can you back up? Can you kind of point out where this is on the site from that map that we saw 2 seconds ago on the previous slide? Yeah.
So it's track A. So that outfall from the detention basin, track A is the detention basin.
Okay.
And then it outfalls and then it goes underneath Maple Street.
And so the retaining wall's up against Maple Street there.
Yes.
Okay.
Directly. Yeah, I kind of I thought I may have should have included a picture like that. It's pretty obvious when you look at Maple Street and you see some chain link fence, but it doesn't take much to see how much of that drop off is there. And you can see it in that picture, that next picture right there.
Yeah.
And that's on the north side of Maple Street,
That's on the north side.
the retaining wall.
The retaining wall's on the north side and the left picture's on the south side.
The outfall that you're seeing on the left-hand side of
Uh-huh.
your page, that's the outfall from the detention basin. And then it goes under Maple Street and it daylights again in this riprap that you're seeing on this picture. I think the
Okay.
next picture might be a little bit more of a close-up. So the picture there, you can see tailwater from the detention basin. It discharges underneath Maple Street and is back out daylighted and moving north to the northwest of that property. The area on the picture on your right is that kind of wetland area. And I assume there's some wetland plants in there that made them designate that as an active wetland or delineated as a wetland. But as of today, it's all just blackberry bushes. It's all you can see over there. Can't really, I didn't see any wetland plants. I mean, I'm not an expert, but when I was close enough, it just looked like a briar patch. So, but that is the area. So it on the left, it discharges into some riprap to slow it down a little bit as it's going to continue north. It does go through this wetland area that was delineated by the developer and then with concurrence from DSL. So that's essentially the reason why we had to put the FSH on top of it. The property does, I can back up, I'm going to back up a second because I just want to bring it to your attention that although this is on tract B, which is entirely the city's property now, it's been dedicated to the city as part of the active storm system for that development. There's also it also affects lots 10 and 11. So there'll be further review, FSH review. I think it's a type 1 review for.
I mean, it depends. If they're just putting a house on it, it's not gonna impact the lot buildability of either one of those lots. It's just an analysis area.
Have to go through, yeah, I think just a type 1 review, which would be just identifying that.
If there, oh, sorry, I was gonna say, if there were any like substantial trees, then the code would limit 2 trees removed in the FSH per year, but neither one of those lots, I believe, have any large trees, so that shouldn't be an issue.
Not anymore.
It could be an issue at 30-40 years from now, people plant trees and then they get really large. Then to protect that riparian area, well, it's not much of a riparian area, but protect the wetland and stream. Those trees would help do that. So we would just want a minimal amount of 2 per year in the future.
30 or 40 years from now, I think most of us won't be here.
Right. What do they say? You plant a tree, you don't plant a tree for you to
Enjoy the shade.
enjoy the
Yeah,
shade, but
yeah.
for somebody else, yeah. So that's kind of what the protections are doing going forward.
So it'll be a matter of procedure that we'll have to just take a look at that and we'll probably have them give them a little bit of heads up on that they'll have to go through an extra step to do that. But again, we don't see any problems because there
It's
isn't
not-
any.
It's not gonna be like a huge burden or anything.
No, I think the first thing is going to be said is that because of the difference in grade, that there's no encroachment on the streams ability to function the way it is, or it's intended to. So I think again, just an extra step. Probably, like I said, we'll just give them a heads up so that they can knock that out when they're going through their building permit process. So it shouldn't be holding up anything. So as the review criteria is pretty straightforward, as you read, the findings were pretty easy to affect that. No city facilities and services will be affected. It's actually engineering's been done. It's incorporated this stream into the system for it. And it is an outlet for the site. Everything goes into the detention basin and then is discharged on the south side, or has an outfall on the south side of Maple Street, and then travels north through this property at a controlled rate. So to avoid any additional flooding or increase in
Erosion or.
erosion, yeah, stuff like that. Consistency with the purposes of this chapter, well, I guess that's pretty evident there, but primarily the consistency with the policies of the comprehensive plan. There is really just the process of reviewing this and bringing this through the appropriate channels for approval. And then the last one was the statewide planning goals, which identifying the wetlands, protecting them, and providing further protection with the FSH is all in line with the statewide planning goals. There was, I guess maybe before we get to the recommendation, there was a letter received from an adjacent.
The erosion letter?
Yeah,
Yeah.
from the one resident that's just north of there. He's in Cascadia Village, which is just adjacent there. I think it's Jurger Street. The backs of those properties have a 15-foot stormwater easement through them. But it's for Cascadia Village. It has nothing to do with this property, it has nothing to do with the property to the north. But there was some activity that was done on the property just to the north of this that disrupted some of that area, and it was put back into place and eventually approved by DSL, which came out and approved the work after it was done. But right now, we really can't take a educated look at it just because it's so dry. But we do plan on doing a follow-up this fall when we start seeing some rain and some flow through there, just to see how anything reacts. So it's completely independent of this, but because of this letter, we just thought we would just kind of address the fact that we will be doing some
So
follow-up.
it's not that you're not addressing it now. You'll wait till there's a rainy season so you can address.
But it is
how it fits.
completely
But
independent,
yeah, it's separate, but
completely independent of this review and your
consideration.
consideration.
Okay.
So with all that said, staff recommends that you approve the zone change as submitted. And we provided a recommended motion for you.
Okay, at this time, then I will call for the applicant's testimony. Remember, it's 15 minutes or less.
Yeah, I'm Tracy Brown, 17075 Fur Drive in Sandy. And I was assisted the applicant to prepare the materials. I guess the only thing I would say, I mean, I think everything in the staff report is fine. The only thing I would say is, in thinking to the future after this application, the city might consider a different process for applications such as this, because the applicant had to pay $6,500 for this application, which seemed like a steep amount given
You're not gonna
the
build.
fact that there was no real discretion here. He had a delineation done, the fish overlay code says exactly what the setbacks are going to be. So it's just really a mapping thing, change the map. So I'm not familiar with if other cities would treat this more of an administrative it feels like more of an administrative task to change the map or maybe bypass the streamline
As
the
opposed to a
process a little
quasi
bit.
judicial hearing.
Yeah, there's really no discretion in this case because, I mean, what would the testimony be? Don't change the map. I mean, it could be similar to a case where an applicant dedicates a park. And then to require the applicant to come back and request a map amendment to
Include the part.
include the park that they just dedicated. It's kind of similar in this case. So anyway, that's my only input and something to consider.
But you agree with the approval
Yeah,
recommendation?
yeah.
All right. Is there,
Just escape.
Yeah.
Those.
and this, at this time, then I will call for any additional proponent testimony? None online?
I'm looking. Nobody has raised their hand online.
Is there any opponent testimony?
Nobody has raised their hand.
And no neutral testimony that I'm assuming. So that was pretty quick. I'll go for a staff recap then.
I think, like Terry said, it's a pretty straightforward thing. We're following what the recommendation of the planning commission was, which we completely concur with, that it went through the correct process, was in concurrence with DSL, the location and the amount of area specifically delineated for the wetlands. And we concur with just the protecting, you know, the wetland as the statewide planning goals to adhere to the statewide planning goals. So yes.
Patrick, I have a question. So there's no risk in us approving this change then, right? Because we're just acknowledging it's wetland.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, there's no risk to any further development of the property or we see any issue with even future development. So.
One of the thing I would add is in regards to the other comment that Mr. Brown made. I don't disagree that it is more of an administrative task. However, in this particular case, when the former property owner was looking to annex it, he did not want to hire like an engineer or a wetland consultant to figure out if there was FSH. And then there was a period of time after the annexation where the applicant, not Mr. Flickema, but the previous developer had hired a consultant that said there was no wetlands. And then the city hired a third-party consultant and it was determined that there was wetlands and DSL concurred with that. And so this was kind of a long process to get where we're at today. The code does allow for you to request an annexation with a FSH overlay district modification at the same time. And it would save quite a bit of money. I think it would only cost like an additional $1,000 instead of $5,000 or $6,000. But in this particular case, that wasn't the path chosen. And so that's why we're here today.
And this hearing gives somebody else the opportunity to say, no, I think that the overlay should, or the wetland area is actually bigger and present evidence and.
Yeah, and I would say in this case,
I mean, obviously not
It'd be
here,
kind
but-
of hard to argue that when it's already been engineered and had input from DSL.
But
And
as Kelly just said, they'd hired somebody who said 0 and then another one that came back and said, actually, there is some.
yeah, so I mean, to get here, it actually probably costs the city way more than $5,000 in staff time. So I would agree, in most cases, it could be done as part of the annexation, and I think it'd be a simpler process. But in this one,
But it wasn't
there
done
is
with
quite a bit of
annexation.
history behind
Yeah.
this one. And to be fair to the previous owner or 2 owners ago, he, I believe, inherited this property, and so he wasn't even like, he didn't want to hire a consultant and figure out the wetlands, and I don't blame him. He wanted to annex it and then sell it. So,
so this is saying, I mean, the map is creating these lots and tracts and things that can be sold, but it's not building anything right now because we're in a moratorium. Or do
They-
they have do they have ERUs
So
already
this
assigned here?
subdivision, Mr. Flickama does have 43 ERUs assigned to this subdivision.
And there are 43 lots?
And there are 43 lots, so yes.
So
And
building could come after this?
it could come at any time. It is
Anytime.
platted, yeah.
Okay. Well,
And I would also say, I mean, this was actually forgotten too. We picked it up on a tree retention, or tree mitigation plan.
forgot it was.
That we had to do
there.
this, that it was a planning commission condition. And when we did find out, we had to go through the process of, well, contacting them, but kind of staying after them to get it done. And it was back and forth before and getting specifically what we needed. So there was like Kelly said, there was a lot of additional time put into this. So
Well, hopefully this will resolve it and allow it to be with the moratorium. If we can get some development with already assigned ERUs, it's a good thing.
see this,
So
see this next one.
it's, now that we're done with that, can we get the staff recap and the recommendation repeated?
I think the recap is we're recommending
Approval.
that you recommend approval to the city council.
Okay.
And the city council will be hearing it at their October 5th meeting, I believe,
Okay,
just to let you know.
great. Any rebuttal from, okay, then I will call for a motion to close the public hearing.
I move that we close the public hearing.
My second.
We'll close the public hearing at 7:11 on eight. Excuse me, all in, I'm just giving the 7:11 at 8:28 on August 24th. All in favor, signify by saying aye,
Aye.
and it's unanimous. Discussion. Clear cut.
I agree. Just a question. I mean, obviously it's outside of this, but just a question for staff. Addressing the concerns in the email for lots 10 and 11, that would be done, potential erosion due to the steep banks there through when those are actually looking at being building permits to make sure that all that's done properly.
Correct. Yeah, we would, I mean,
Make sure that
the building official also, so in Hoodview, I'll just use Hoodview Heights as an example. Hoodview Heights had some lots that were pretty steep, the one behind Johnson RV. And so the building official has, on a few circumstances, been calling in like the applicant to hire a geologist to make sure. And in one of the cases, actually, the geologist came down and they had not dug down to the ground enough. So it was thankfully caught. I think they had to dig out another 4 feet deeper to get to harder soil. So we'd probably be looking at something similar, especially around the wetland and the creek bed.
but it's our process.
Okay. And
I just have one question. It's more for clarification that the red dotted line, which is the limits of proposed fish overlay. And looking at lot 11 and 10, we're saying that a house can be built on there, which would be within the fish overlay.
that's 2 of the 43 lots,
Yes,
11 and 12. I mean, 10 and 11.
it would just be that additional review on it and, like Kelly just said to Commissioner Wagner, it would be, they would look at having some kind of geotech report if they felt it was needed. But the FSH, I think we could make a pretty strong argument that because of the elevation change or the channel for the stream is so far down that there's going to be no encroachment on that. The retaining wall is a barrier to that. So
Yeah, per code, if you're building on land 25% slope or greater, it automatically triggers a geotech report. But in addition to that, the state building code does allow a building official that's concerned about the stability of the ground to require a geotech report.
Okay. Just curious.
Commissioner online, does he have any comments or?
Commissioner O'Leary?
No comments.
Thank you, Commissioner. So at this time, I would call for a motion on the decision.
I move the findings as presented in the staff report dated August 24th, 2026 shall be adopted by the planning commission, hereby recommends approving file number 26-029 ZC to the city council to amend the zoning map to add the flood and slope hazard FSH overlay to the subject properties.
I'll second it.
Been moved and
You've written-
seconded. You just
Kelly,
want to do a
you've
roll
read it.
call vote, Kelly?
It was Patrick that wrote that on me. Commissioner Crosby,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner,
Yes.
Commissioner Zawadzki,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Leary,
Yes.
and Chair Malone.
Yes. And that's the end of that one. Moving on to the next one. Do I have to read the whole quasi again?
Yep.
I think so.
I'm afraid so. This one's file number 26-028. The MPVAR Fish, 19124 Jacoby Road, a 2-parcel partition. And 15 minutes for the applicant's presentation or less, 3 minutes for each proponent, opponent, or neutral position, person completing testimony, and 5 minutes for the applicant's rebuttal. I will open the public hearing at 7:16, and the applicant's name, I already stated the file number and the time of the hearing. And I will call for any abstentions from the planning commission. Nope. Any ex parte contact or conflict of interest? Then we will move on to any challenges from applicants. And I will read this following statement. If you testify, you must raise all issues at this hearing. If your issue is not raised at this hearing, you may not be able to raise it at a later or at any appeal. Your comment should state why the application should not or should be approved, or include your proposed modifications you believe are necessary for approval according to the standards. If you do not raise specific issues at this evidentiary hearing or by the close of the record, or fail to provide statements of evidence to allow the local government or its designee to respond to the issue, you will not be able to appeal the decision on the land use to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that particular issue. Failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to the proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow the local government or its designee to respond to the issue precludes inaction for damages in circuit court. Any party that has the right to request a continuance of the public hearing, or alternatively to have the record remain open. And we'll call for the staff report.
Yeah, here we go. So this one's gonna be a little bit more complicated, I think. But still in the realm of pretty straightforward as well. So this site is just south of DeBarco Road. It is across from an established neighborhood to the west. All of the property, I don't have a slide for the zoning, but all the property around it is low density residential. The property itself is zoned single family residential. Oops. So this land use file did have a lot of background in it. This is before I got here, before probably a few of you were joined the commission. That there was 3 previous pre-application conferences of this, specifically around doing a 27 lot subdivision. but under special circumstances with the moratorium, it was delayed. And, past the deadline of securing ERUs for the development. So the site, remained kind of in limbo until the applicant came to us and asked if there was a pathway to partition this property and to partition off the house and maintain the rest of the property, which was originally discussed in the other pre-application conferences to maintain the house that was already on the property and develop around it. So what you're seeing is with the shadow plat that we've included in this is pretty much the same development that was already previously reviewed. However, with this partition, it has a little bit separate connotations because any type of major partition requires site improvements. And what the developer was asking us was that we can defer, could we defer these improvements to a later date? And we looked at it in a couple of different ways. Primarily, was it going to commit some type of precedent, for future partitions, and because it has a house on it, and the rest of the lot can't be further partitioned without meeting the density requirements. We basically just discussed what the process was, and he would be required to do to apply for special variances for it. There's no other there is no other path for it. This is not like a special this is a special circumstances based on that. So that was the pathway to go through. This is as outlined, I believe, in the staff report, shows parcel 1 and parcel 2. Parcel 1 is the greater amount of land that will be partitioned off. The entire site is 9.64 acres. The image on the right is the shadow plat, which shows how the house will integrate into a future subdivision when developed. There is a existing driveway that the applicant is as part of the partition will provide an easement back to that piece of property, but because it's required that it needs to have frontage, we worked with them to basically run their access, which will be basically just on paper, down where the future street would be for that property. So they will, as a partition, it will still meet the requirement of having frontage, but they will still be using the easement that they're going to provide to themselves for
In the interim.
for the interim, for their access. So it'll remain where it is.
Is the new road an easement or is it part of the parcel? The kind of the red piece.
It
that
will
you
be
have?
part of parcel 1.
No,
The red that's there
the red
now.
below.
Yeah.
Yep.
Will be part of parcel 2.
Okay. So it's an easement.
No, it's actually part of the parcel. It's
And then
red area
the
be
dotted
dedicated.
line is the future road
It goes
to
through.
serve parcel 1.
well,
Correct?
the red is part of parcel 2.
Correct, but the
It'll
one
be-
above it, that you have to put in there to give you the frontage, that one is the road that will service parcel 1.
The red
Or no.
outline is all going to be parcel 2, and because it has a dwelling on it, it has to have access.
Correct.
So that is going to be parcel 2. They're providing the easement on parcel 1 to parcel 2 to maintain that access. And as you can see in the image on the right, where the shadow plat is, that access of parcel 2 will be it's overlaid onto where the future road is. So basically what would happen is that piece, if or when this gets developed, that piece will be integrated into the overall development. It will no longer exist. So when they replat this, that portion that attaches that parcel to Jacoby Road will be eliminated. It'll be vacated,
So
so to speak.
It's a mirage.
yes, right, and that's kind of what I was trying to, so kind of two pieces to that. What, assume these are now owned by separate folks, what compels the owner of parcel 2 to give that piece of their land over for somebody else for parcel 1
Easement.
owner to
No,
create a
it's
subdivision?
one owner right now.
Right, but once it becomes 2 parcels, theoretically, that second parcel could be sold.
So
So if you were to have 2 owners,
one point of clarification, so you have 2 parcels, an easement over the larger parcel for access to the smaller parcel.
right,
That easement will eventually be terminated
right,
when the larger parcels redevelop.
yeah,
And then the other red area is right away that will need to be dedicated now. And then eventually that will just be expanded. It'll be enlarged.
okay, so that's the piece that I think was missing, is it's, even though it's part of parcel 2, it's going to be dedicated upon,
It's not going to be part of either parcel. It's going to be dedicated to the public or to the city.
right, I think that's, okay, that's the part that I was missing.
It's required now to get the frontage because that's a requirement of the code for every lot to have the coverage. When the parcel 1 is replatted, that access will essentially be vacated and you will now have that road
Replaced with city streets.
being the street,
Frontage.
being a city street, a local street, that house will now have access from.
Sure.
So yeah, it will be vacated,
The
and
second-
as well as the easement.
And the second piece of that is whoever then is developing parcel 1, they would be then compelled to complete the complete road, both sides, even on the front of parcel 2?
Correct.
So they're gonna maintain
Yeah, we
these
put conditions in there.
Okay,
There's.
because
if you
normally
look
isn't
at-
it just their half of the road?
Right.
But
If you look
we-
at the conditions of approval, that's one of the conditions.
Okay,
Is that would be conditioned upon them.
This looks like what we used to call cherry stem. I mean, annexation, it's a cherry stem partition.
Yeah, yeah, that's actually, yeah, it is.
Am I looking at the right map here? My eyesight's really horrible and I have a question here. Temporary grading easement to benefit parcel. So is that going away or after?
Yes, so the easement, the temporary,
Make sure I'm looking at the right thing. That's all. A lot of red.
so both of these, the easement that's gonna be currently recorded with this partition will be vacated when the entire parcel 1 is developed.
Okay.
And then parcel 2 will then gain access from
Public space.
the platted road through parcel 1. Both of those, both the cherry stem and the easement will be vacated upon
Once they design all the
once
city
the
streets that are in there.
property is further developed. This is just to maintain his current access to the house, which is
By having the Jacoby frontage.
yeah,
Yeah.
the stem is to have
Right.
the Jacoby frontage. The access is just because he's already that's his current access and it's
Right.
currently paved. So he's just granting property. And again, this property cannot be further partitioned without doing some type of large subdivision because it has to meet.
That's what he does well in the ERU lottery.
Exactly, yeah, they would have to do it.
How many this isn't even part of this, but how many lots do you think you would get out of parcel one? Rough
It's on
estimate.
the shadow plat there.
I can't see.
It's 27 additional lots, or is it, no, or is the one house? Yeah, 27 additional.
27 plus the existing house.
Yeah.
Which is on. All right. Well, there's 190 ERUs coming up for grabs at some.
Yeah, and we did our best to lay out a lot of your questions that you're asking are in the conditions.
Yeah.
And you know, if there's any
Yeah, I saw
confusion,
that.
it's probably just the way we wrote them. We just didn't write them
But the thing is,
clear enough.
everybody who's watching this doesn't know what we see, so to ask
Yeah.
the question our statement.
But we tried to outline a lot of
Yeah.
that and
They look like
hopefully with
nice
any
little
approval.
lots.
Any approval that obviously all
lots.
those conditions will be adhered to. So when the applicant decides to go and replat this, if it's approved, all of those conditions, the easements, the frontage, part of this also, since we have this, is along Jacoby Road. There was a couple of issues when you're dealing with partitions and frontage improvements, is really what this land use application is about, is deferring these site improvements to a later date until the full development is. So the brunt of the cost doesn't go to the one
The one
house,
house
to
having
the property owner right now that only has the one house. Easily
Divvied.
absorbed. Yeah, divvy out to 27 lots instead of just the one lot.
Right.
So, that's the request, is that that the improvements are deferred to a later date instead of absorbed right now. But as part of just this the two parcel partition, we are asking for the dedication of Jacoby Road, the 10 feet that we need right now, that we would need in the future anyways. But we thought this would be a good opportunity to obtain that dedication right now.
Well, it gives some
with-
certainty.
With this plant, yeah. So at least we know that we have the future right of way for however how this is developed. And again, the 27 lots is a shadow plat. It's not pressed in concrete. There's no, the 27 lot is just showing, is part of what is required to show how
But the configuration could change a little bit. It's not set in stone.
right, how the resultant land can be developed. And this is the ideal subdivision of that property, but it doesn't mean that that's what it's going to be. So we did want to obtain the dedication right now for this
Yeah,
property.
makes sense.
As well as we wanted to, well, I guess I can go to another slide and continue on here a little bit, but we can come back to this if you have more questions.
Yep, I have those now.
So a lot of, I guess, what we talked about, so we're really focused on the variances of this. The future plat, I mean, you've got the gist of how the
How
partition
could-
is going to occur and what the applicant is asking for. But we're focused on the variances, and since these are the special circumstances, this is not a geographical situation or dimensional type of situation. The only way to review this is through a special variance, and this is under special circumstances. So
Right.
because of the moratorium, we're approaching it that way. I think.
Patrick, is this house hooked up to the Sandy water system, or
No, not septic and well.
it looks like it has a septic tank
Yep, it's on septic and well,
that continue?
yes.
Okay.
Yep, there's, we're not requiring them to hook up to water. He has the right to if he wants to, but he has to go.
If it's some future system, once this area on lot one is developed, if his septic system were to fail or his well were to fail, he could do that.
But his well's in the middle of the road.
So once
could-
once So once the rest of the property's developed,
City water.
you'll have to hook to city water and city sewer.
You're right. It's on the road.
You want to continue on, Patrick?
Yes, sir.
So, we just so the next slide here is showing is part of what we wanted to obtain at this time. Kelly caught this almost right at the end, is that the Parks and Trail Master Plan had this map that's on the left here that shows future trails that were designated or outlined in the master plan to go along with future development. So at the time that we were reviewing this, we talked to the applicant about including this and getting this dedication at this time. And because we didn't want to go through a full amount of surveying and everything, we asked the Parks and Trails Advisory Board what they would feel comfortable at this time obtaining, and they asked for just 100-foot easement on this property, and that's shown on the right,
Adjacent to the stream.
which could be used for future Tickle Creek trail.
Activity, yeah.
And
Yes.
If I remember it correctly from watching that Parks meeting, it was at the time of development, it would then be dedicated to the city.
correct,
They just don't want to dedicate it now where they don't really have great access, correct?
correct.
Okay.
Yep, that's exactly what they're.
For the same reason
What
why
the
they didn't
motion
want
was.
parks land dedicated, because then you have to
Yep.
start maintaining it.
So again, the special variance route was the only one that we could really take, and we had to go through the criteria here. It's pretty short and straight. A lot of it does go right back to the fact of the special circumstances with the moratorium, the amount of requirements and costs that would put on the homeowner or the developer or the property owner right now to develop that whole front with no development to defer any of that
And
additional
no
costs.
guarantees of ERUs.
Yeah. So that was the focus of a lot of the review and the criteria that I went through to try to outline as much of that as I could for it, but outline all of exactly what they are asking for and what you will be ruling on is the amount of improvements that come along with these large developments and what they are deferring to future date. So, we through my review and through just basically, I think the special circumstances of the moratorium and this being unique to the fact that it cannot be subdivided any further, separates it, I think, from other properties that would maybe interested in going down this route, that we can, I think, confidently say this, we would support these variances in this particular case.
Okay, the end of the staff report. I will now call for the applicant's presentation.
Good evening, I'm Tracy Brown and Corey Knight, property owner. Sitting out here, if there's any questions that come up. I guess just one quick point of clarification that Patrick didn't mention is this property has been approved for a subdivision previously. May 15th, 2019, it was received preliminary plat approval for a 32 lot subdivision. So to check your records, so that was approved previously. But for various reasons beyond the applicant's control, he never was able to pull together the resources, involved to develop the property. And that application expired a few
I'm
years
sure with the
ago.
moratorium, there are some regrets there.
Yeah, so that was, he's kicking himself that he couldn't make it happen at the time. There was some reasons, personal reasons that that came into play there.
Life happens.
So anyway, this is, a 2 lot partition, one lot will be about 0.75 acres and it will contain the existing single-family dwelling. There's also the septic and well that's been shown on the plans, and the other parcel 1, is the rest of the property. As was mentioned, the home is accessed by that private drive off of Jacoby Road, and that will remain. And it'll be provided an easement. Also, Tickle Creek flows through the very northeast corner of the property. So as identified on the plans, the applicant will dedicate 10 feet along Jacoby Road. In addition, there'll be a 20-foot wide right-of-way to provide a frontage to that parcel 2. Those will remain and will be platted as part of the subdivision or part of the partition. In addition, as it's recommended as a condition, we'll be platting that easement for the existing road and for the well and septic on parcel 1, and those will be relinquished once parcel 1 develops in the future as a subdivision. And as the condition said, we would provide an easement, a trail easement at that northeast corner of the property to accommodate that future trail. Really, this is an interim step for the applicant. Assuming the moratorium is lifted or he's lucky and wins the lottery of ERUs, he is anxious to develop that property at the future time. But right now, he can't do anything with the property. And so he's hoping to separate these two so he could potentially, if he needs to, sell the home separate from the balance of the property. Because right now, he can't do anything with the property. So there was a shadow plan. I think Patrick mentioned that, this wasn't set in stone. It was a concept. The code could change. It's hard to say, and what the code will be at the time of a subdivision application, that's what would be in effect, and he would need to follow that. So if the code changed to require bigger lots or smaller lots, there may be some changes to that 27 lot shadow plat. It's essentially a concept to show how the property could be developed. I mean, one thing we are relying on is that road. We are dedicating that 20-foot wide, so we're confident that road will be there when this property develops in the future.
So this is just proof of concept.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So, Patrick mentioned very clearly that, the 2 special variants that were requested are really to allow the construction of the improvements to be deferred until the property is subdivided in the future. And without that, it would be, quite an expensive partition to be required to construct improvements, frontage improvements along Jacoby, and then potentially half-street improvements on this 20-foot wide dedicated street. So as reviewed in the staff report, we reviewed all the recommended conditions, and we agree with those conditions, including the trail easement. And we respectfully request the Planning Commission approve the application. If you have any questions for me or the applicant, property owner.
Wish him luck in the
Thank you.
lottery.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Is there any opponent testimony online?
Let me get to that screen. No hands are raised.
And no additional proponent? I should have said that first. Any neutral?
Just give them a second here to raise hands. We do have 2 attendees. Nope, I do not see any hands raised.
Okay, then I will call for the staff recap.
Just that we stand by our review of and what we outlaid in our findings and how we believe that this is not going to be detrimental to the future, to the existing code or to any future development of the property or the area. And I don't know if I was supposed to say neutral, but we support it. We don't see any downside to this.
Agree. So I appreciate you being so well prepared, and I don't think there's gonna be any rebuttal of what he just said. but-
Staff support.
Yeah, we support staff support, okay? Then I will call for a motion to close the public hearing at 7:45.
I so move.
I'll second.
Moved by Jerry and second by Councilor Wagner. So we will go ahead and discuss this. Yes. Oh, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
All five of us, okay. Yeah, any joy in finding a missing or down position here? Nobody else has applied to be on the planning commission, Kelly? No? Okay. Any discussion? Jerry?
No, I really don't. I understand it all and
Yeah,
makes sense and would approve.
I don't have any issues. I just have a couple of process questions. Does doing this now versus doing it all at once change any density calculations or parks fee in lieu fees or anything like that by doing it separately later down the road? Versus thinking of it as one big lot?
Well, there is a parks and fee lieu or attached to this right here that we've outlined on that. And
But would
it's,
it be a different process if they did it all? at
no,
once?
because it's done on the amount of parcels and people and based on the amount of people. So it's basically what the requirement is how many people in the house. That equates to the parks fee in lieu right now. And so the fee in lieu for parks later will depend on how many lots and how many dwellings can go on there. So if it's 27 or 32 or 25, that parks and fee will be based on that addition. So it's a wash.
Okay.
Yeah.
And same with density calculations, thinking about it as a smaller parcel one versus a large.
Well, it meets the 27 lot concept shadow plat meets the density requirements of today. But that could change.
Yeah, so that's one of the big reasons for requesting or requiring the shadow plat is to show that if Mr. Knight or any future purchaser of parcel 2 or parcel 1 can meet our density standards even with this partition today, and the answer was yes.
Okay, so we're not potentially worse off in any way, shape, or form by separating it out. It's the calculation would be similar whether they did it all at once or whether they separated it out.
I mean, I would argue that the partition actually benefits the city because not only does the density not change, but we're actually collecting $17,000 in parks fee in lieu sooner rather than waiting down the road.
Okay, okay. I wasn't specifically speaking to just parks fee in lieu, but just lot sizes and calculating density, and because you're taking out a good chunk of it, and if that changes it, or I mean, like you said, it could help it still. I don't know. I'm just wondering what the different calculations would pull out.
Yeah, it won't affect the density going into the future.
Okay.
Yeah, that was part of the calculation to do that and keep that parcel to that size. I mean, if it was 3 times as big as they're proposing, you may have not been able to
get the density on the
reach
rest.
that density level. Yeah, with minimum lot sizes. So
Makes sense. Any other discussion, questions, comment? Then I will call for the motion to make a decision.
Is there a written?
Is there a written motion in
written
there?
motion?
is it at the bottom of
Be
the
at the last.
of the staff report?
No.
I don't know if that one got one included.
I can,
Was it on your slide? Did I see? it?
yes, it was on my slide.
There, pull it up on a slide and I'll be glad to read it.
Sharon.
Hmm.
I bet I should have a motion.
Although we could call it together, it would probably, yeah.
The two of you could figure out to make a motion to approve.
No, it's right there.
Okay,
Okay,
I will read it. I move that. the
Oh, no, this
findings-
is 20, is this?
That's
28?
20.
Is that the right one?
No,
No,
I think
we're-
you pulled up the zone change.
Nope.
We're
One
at the
second. We'll be-
MS, FSH, VAR.
Right here.
Yeah. They're right next to each other on the computer.
Yeah.
We're just trying to help Kelly in taking minutes. If we read it straight
Well,
out.
if you read it straight out that.
He is a novice.
I'm gonna copy paste this
He is a-
I know,
presentation.
that's what
He is
we're-
a
we're
novice.
helping. We're fighting for you.
I haven't written notes or minutes in a couple of years.
Very in work here.
Sorry about that. There you go.
Okay. I move that the findings are in support of the approval criteria or have been met or explained to a sufficient amount and therefore recommend approval of the major partition and two proposed variances presented in file number 26-028 MP variance and fish, subject to the recommended conditions presented in the final order.
A second.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Crosby and second by Commissioner Wagner that we approve the hearing before us tonight. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. And good luck in the lottery. What, Counselor, when do we think maybe that ERU lottery could happen? No idea.
Yeah, thanks.
No,
I
there
wasn't aware of
was a
that.
meeting with you and kind of following the steps that were required due to,
Do you know?
the,
DEQ, E almost as fun as ODOT,
I mean, where are we getting? like a-
Almost.
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 Okay. Well, I think that's it for tonight. Right? We don't have anything else? I can close the meeting at 7:51.
That would be lovely.
Okay, get that in the minutes and we will book it to West Lynn. Thank you so much.
Good night,
All right,
everybody.
thank you.
All right, thanks, everyone.